Devin here with Divine Strength and Physiotherapy. Today is Earth Day 2020. Happy birthday, Felicia Wong. Felicia's one of my best girlfriends from undergrad, and every year her birthday is on Earth Day. And Earth Day is already special, and Felicia is such a spirit of the earth, and there's so much that we can connect to on a day like today, and especially during these times, this is such a great time to connect with Mother Earth and give and receive all of her gifts, but also have that gratitude to her of all that she gives us: food, water, shelter, resources, energy. So it's raining in Oregon today on Earth Day, which is beautiful. I see that so much as the earth being nourished. And so today I really felt compelled to do a very nourishing, grounding movement session or yoga series. I look at yoga as being mindful movement, that you are breathing through each movement and present in the moment of each movement, and that's truly what the essence of yoga is. So I'm going to start my practice with bringing intention into the practice to connect into earth and feel and ground. So you're welcome to join me. For those of you who might not know what Ujjayi breath is, that is the breath I'll be using through my practice to be present. And if you don't know what that is, you can check out a free video on my website, divinesp.com. And let us know if you have any questions or need any guidance on any of that. So I hope you enjoy this practice with me and Mother Earth today. Other point I wanted to say is Earth is always with us. Despite me not being able to do this practice outside today, Earth is always here. So I have my plant friend here given to me by one of my patients when she moved. And she's always in the clinic. So beautiful. And we can always appreciate Mother Nature. So I'm going to start with just bringing my intention into my practice and bringing focus, starting with my Ujjayi breath. Visualizing my connection down into the earth as if I were a tree with roots, dropping my roots down deep into the earth and spreading and going to the earth's core. Releasing anything that does not serve me and receiving all that is here to nourish me from the earth, through those roots, up into me, to my heart center, your heart center. Sitting in that space of the heart center, then receiving bright light energy above from our head, down below, over our head, into our bodies, down to our heart center, meeting that grounding earth energy inside of our hearts. Mixing and twirling. And with full awareness and connection to the earth and to the divine above us, around us, in our heart center, we begin to fold around our heart center. Beginning with Ujjayi breath, inhale. Looking up, exhale coming down. Inhale to the right neck circles. Inhale 1 half. half cycle. Exit second half cycle. Inhaling to the left now. Beginning to massage my vocal cords and pharyngeal muscles that become tense when we cough. One aspect of the Ujjayi breath is strengthening of these muscles. So especially during neck mobility, there can be periods of time to where, depending on where your nervous system is at, it might be a little too much. So there, what I've learned is I'm going to take my time around my left hand circles. Being certain to feel the support from below my pelvis to stack my spine so that my neck is not taking the brunt, so that it's displaced through my whole spine. So as we do rotations, even when it's a neck rotation, our trunk, our heart center is engaged with the activity. So it doesn't end up being that I'm simply just doing neck mobility to crank the neck. It's much more of a dynamic movement through the whole spine. So that's why it's critical as we start this practice is being rooted through the pelvis as I do neck mobility with awareness. This makes me think about, for anyone who might have hip stiffness that cannot root through their pelvis through this, is if you come up on a block, so if you just take a yoga block and get your pelvis up, you're going to come into more of an anterior tilted position, and that's going to be easier to get a stack of your spine. So this can be a pillow folded up, a yoga block, anything that allows you to get propped up. Inhaling up to center. Releasing all that needs to be released. Even if that means by burping. All right, this next movement is really beautiful for stabilization through the pelvis, but also a beautiful liver, spleen, stomach massage. Really beautiful for and helpful, beautiful, beautiful being of my awe of the body, but helpful in massaging the liver parenchyma or tissues of the liver so that they can squeeze and do their function, create secretions, move blood, detoxify. So for us to do this, we're going to get in an outstretched position, pelvis rooted. If we need to come up on a block, we can, and just have our spine here. And to be honest, I'm going to take the modification today because I'm feeling tight throughout my hips, probably from sitting so much lately. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our hands into, like we're going to turn butter, feet are into a flex position. Spine stacked, head not out. Inhale. Exhale. Switching directions. Rooting through my heels and my pelvis. Getting that support. Not feeling like I'm having to work a lot in my upper body. Much more at rooting through the earth here. Good. Hands on legs. Inhale up. Lifting the chest to the sky. While still feeling ground from beneath. We'll take our feet underneath of us. I'm going to turn just so you can see me coming out from my yoga block. I'm going to take my hands facing fingertips towards my heels for this. If that's uncomfortable and you need a little assist, this internal rotation can be really troublesome for people with shoulder pain or neck trouble. You need to be able to push back and lock into your lats through pushing, engaging rather than locking, excuse me, and your head being in a neutral position. If you're not able to get here, what can help is switching your hand back like this to bias you into external rotation so that when you come up, you have an easier time to push through your shoulders. I personally am working on this position, so I'm going to start here, feet and shoulders width apart, back and down, head lifted, Ujjayi breath. Looking to push away from the floor and come into a neutral spine and neck position. And then pulling down through my hands and feet web to come back down to the floor. Still feeling the ground underneath of me through my feet. There's a very big neurological connection in from our feet into our pelvis. For those of us who have any pelvic pain or instability, when we go to do planks, whether they be reverse planks or forward planks, if we don't have the grounding and the rooting through our feet, it's really difficult to fully rehabilitate the low back, hip, and pelvis. So a lot of times in pelvic rehab, I'm helping people get neurologically connected into their feet. So as we go through this next repetition, find your feet, feel your feet. I have found through my pelvic trauma, for those of you who don't know, I fractured my coccyx 3 times as a kid. So my pelvic rehab has been long, and it's only in the last few years that I've had an awareness into my feet. So that's why I love grounding movements such as this yoga series to help my brain become connected so that I continue to improve and have less pain and are able to use my legs healthfully and not get a knee replacement or hip replacement when I'm older. So this round I'm going to open up my shoulders to help facilitate a little bit because I was feeling a little forward. I do feel like all the sitting that has been going on is part of that. So we just have to honor where we're at. Shoulders backing down, pushing away. Head lifted, feet rooted. Leaning forward a bit. Putting my yoga block in between my knees for some support to work within my lower pelvis and lower core. So for those of you who have taught pelvic brace to, you're going to recognize that the breath here is critical to be able to keep that support here and not utilize your upper abs or flex your low back. So as I'm here, lats are very important to create full body load disbursement. Knees together, inhale, exhale, blow. From this position, coming out, feet shoulder width apart. Bring out my block now. Palms facing the floor, shoulders back and down. Head lengthened, feet shoulder width apart. We're going to come up into a bridge. Really pushing the earth away so that there's actually a direction this way so that my shins are going away from me. In a bridge, a lot of times what people default to or have been taught is to tuck their pelvis and lift straight up. What that does is it causes a lot of compression within the pelvic floor and rounds the pelvis and spine. So for you to be rooted through your feet, that if you were to go lift up, you would immediately lift, versus out here is much more of a hamstring. My pelvis has to tilt, feet underneath of you, rooting through the lats and spine. So this is a whole body movement. Blowing, that gets my deep core. I push through my feet out and up, really helping, using the floor as leverage. Let the earth help you here. Think of it as you are pressing away and getting someone to push you up off the ground versus you having to hoist yourself up. If anyone here is struggling with keeping their engagement within their legs and their glutes, putting a yoga block in between your knees is such a beautiful modification, and it's so easy to be able to take. So you just want to do a light squeeze. It keeps you connected into your midline so much easier, so much less thought and frustration. What I love to do next is coming with a yoga block underneath of my pelvis, right at the sacrum, right at where that the end of the spine ends and your sacrum begins, is to do a resting position to splay open the pelvis to allow opening and grounding into the pelvis. If you've had any pelvic pain, abdominal, low back, hip, to be able to open up your pelvis and create decompression in this area is so helpful for those nerves, joints, soft tissue. So then further to relax, another alternative is dropping your knees in towards each other to relax the pelvic floor and do some really beautiful low ujjayi breath into the pelvis. Take a moment to recognize, especially being in a female pelvis, the feeling, whether you have birthed or had a period, or the feeling of being in your pelvis on this Earth Day of Mother Earth, and just how really our feet are the connection to Mother Earth. Our feet connect to the ground, bringing energy up so we can create stability in our pelvis. A lot of the conversations I have around, especially women, those of us who've had knee pain, hip pain, back pain, or pelvic pain, is I need to be more stable. I need to get my core stable. Yes, we need to be more stable, but we also need to be more compassionate in this area. There's probably been a lot of trauma, pain, discomfort. So for us to come into positions with compassion and full awareness and breath allows us within yoga to be able to help us, not making yoga as a strenuous exercise that feels like another strain. Therefore, I'm going to be blocked coming down to my pelvis, whether that be on an energetic chakra level or whether that be on an activation, whether it's glutes or low abs. It's all about creating this balance in between the upper and lower parts of ourselves. So from this position to safely get out, we'll get shoulder width apart, shoulders backing down, spine lengthen. Inhale. Exhale up. Coming down. Coming into one knee bent and breathing here. As long as you need to be here. Other side. Feet shoulder width apart, really rooting through the ground. Inhale. Letting the knees fall, however, putting a little bit of pressure through the feet to create leverage so that on this side that I'm opening and lengthening, I am not just falling in on my hip, my internal hip. I'm creating length through my top knee. I'm going to turn in the opposite direction with my head, making sure that I am aware of any tension points, able to still breathe fully in my Ujjayi breath. What you'll experience with mindful breathing during movement practice, yoga, stretching, is that if you just stay here and breathe, the tension points begin to soften and relax. Because we're softening at a deeper level in the nervous system versus just at the muscular level. Inhaling to come back to center. Exhale, opposite direction. Really, aside from pushing with your leg just a slight bit to get leverage off earth, resting here. You're on the ground. Let go. Let the earth support you. There's nothing for you to do here but breathe. Bring knees in. Ujjayi breath. Just simply rolling side to side with my breath. this being an alternative for happy baby is a beautiful release for pelvic floors. So many of you are aware of happy baby being this full position in yoga. Oftentimes in pelvic rehab, we have to modify this position because it's just too much of a reach. In this position, be wary not to crunch your hips, just providing that support. You can even rest your elbows on the floor and give your legs more support. It's mainly to be able to breathe down into your pelvic bowl. Opening up pelvis, abdomen, low back, mid-back, up to neck and shoulders if you really allow your breath to release you. Coming down one leg at a time. We'll rest in Shavasana. A lot of people are familiar with where you can just rest in this position. A great modification for any pelvic pain or low back pain is to bring in a chair. And what you'll do is you'll just rest your knees as far up onto the chair as you can to get support. And then just rest here. In this position, you want to be able to rest and let the pelvis open. If anyone really enjoyed that pelvis support here, you can rest your yoga block to even provide even more opening. Right now I'm feeling really compelled to be on the ground more and rest my legs up, but really feeling that support underneath of my spine all the way throughout my body. A few more ujjayi breaths here. We'll finish this practice with a body scan, leaving you into a space that if you so like to sit in silence and meditate, knowing that thoughts are all a part of meditation, and if we accept those thoughts and accept the feelings and sensations as we sit with ourselves, we drop into a deeper, peaceful state. So I leave you today with the presence of Mother Earth in your life here to support you, hoping that all will become aware of the great gifts she's already been given and will continue to give. May we choose to reciprocate and love and honor. Deep breath in and out. Bringing the mind's eye to the toes, feet, ankles, calves and shins, knees, thighs and hamstrings, genitals, pelvis, abdomen, stomach, chest, shoulders and arms.